Well, Labor will pay superannuation on paid parental leave from mid next year. It will apply to those people that get their paid parental leave money from the government. Joining me live is ACTU Assistant Secretary Joseph Mitchell. Thanks for your time. So it does go pretty broadly because the vast majority of people will be eligible once they're getting paid parental leave for the government scheme. Their business might top it up, but if you get the government scheme, you get this money. It's not cheap. Why is it a good idea?
It's a fantastic idea and fixes a historic gender retirement gap that's existed since Commonwealth paid parental leave was introduced. Paid parental leave is the only form of leave which superannuation isn't paid upon, and that is going to be paid on the Commonwealth portion is just welcome news for more than 180,000 women a year.
We've heard a lot when Labor's asked about various measures. Here's what we can afford for now. What's next on the list, do you think?
When it comes to fighting for gender equality and superannuation, there's still a lot to achieve. But when it comes to first principles, this measure is going to make an enormous amount of difference. It's going to contribute tens of thousands of dollars to women who have multiple kids, and going to mean that compounds over their period of life and the rest of their working life. So it shouldn't be underestimated just how much this will do. When it comes to the rest of our agenda, though, we're going to ensure that we keep campaigning for full superannuation equality across all types of leave, and that means that employer parts should be covered as well.
That'll tend to be sort of for wealthier people, that all the middle income earners are probably okay now? Is that sort of come to what the union's fighting for?
Well, right now, when it comes to the recipients of Commonwealth paid parental leave, you tend to be lower income, tend to be more working class and have the ability to take that leave. When unions fight for parental leave in EBAs, we always fight for including superannuation as part of that. But, there are employers that don't pay superannuation on top of the employer payments, and we think that they should.
The interesting thing around, the total super you end up with still is largely dictated by how big your pay packet is. Is there always going to be a bit of a gap? Because most of the time women are going to take a big chunk off, and these days at a pretty productive time in their careers, right? It used to be sort of early 20s and now it's maybe early 30s, mid 30s. And by the time they come back, they won't have progressed as much. Is that just a bit of a reality that getting it to zero is hard, but it's about choice and these sorts of areas rather than saying we have to get to zero?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why the gender pay gap exists and the super pay gap exists, but fundamentally the super pay gap is part of the gender pay gap story, and so addressing the gender pay gap at work is going to make an enormous difference.
Yeah, addressing that, and you want to avoid a situation where if you're doing the same job, you're getting a different amount. There's still been some stories around graduates getting different. Yeah. That seems bizarre. But is there still going to be a gap because of the issue I mentioned, that if we're chasing sort of zero or close to it, it's probably going to be unlikely?
I don't think that we should ever think that equality is never going to be achievable. We're going to be able to ensure that women take an equal amount of parental leave to mean that the burden of family care is evenly distributed as well, and that's going to be a really important part.
But that's a choice thing, right? And birth's pretty major, and there's also breastfeeding. There's always going to be more likelihood that women will be off longer than men. You can give families choice, absolutely, they don't have to be, but that's the choice that's still going to be made more often than not.
Maybe, but in the end of the day, you need to create the structures to enable people to take an equal amount of parental leave, and that also changes with societal expectations of what an equal share of parental leave looks like, and you can see more equal burden of care.
Yeah. That choice is out there a lot already. A lot of workplaces just say, we don't mind, man, woman, do whatever you want. They split it up, 6 months here, 6 months there. So choice rather than chasing a number?
Oh, no, because both of those things are interrelated. So actually fixing the gender pay gap is part of what our ambition is, and fixing the gender retirement gap is absolutely part of our ambition. And so there's more to that than choice.
All this stuff costs money. Where do you sit on the Labor sort of saying, hey, we're done on tax reform? Because there's so many other things they had recently, not that long ago, pledged on trusts, even on making sure you couldn't claim more than, 20, 50 grand on your tax with an accountant. Is there a bit more they should be looking at, being more ambitious?
There's always opportunities to improve fairness across the economy in the tax space, and thinking about ways to make multinationals pay their fair share of tax and thinking about how we can distribute that evenly. But they've committed to a lot already, and when you think about ensuring that there's a fairer tax treatment of people who get paid more than $3 million in their super, that's really welcome.
Okay.
Country by country reporting consultation opens up as well.
But you'd be hoping for something more to be taken in the next election, wouldn't you?
Well, I think
a bit more ambitious there.
We'll see. I mean, there's an opportunity to increase that kind of ambition, but
They're where voters only take so much. Is that sort of where we're?
I mean, we're the union movement will keep on fighting for better and fairer taxes.
Okay.